Hey, Jeff here. So let's see. Got a few things in this week. Let's talk about. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go jump right into this. So this came in today. Kind of wasn't expecting it, but then it did come in. I saw it on Facebook that it was out, and I didn't realize it was already shipped because I didn't get the notification. But here it is. The new Shout. This is one of the limited run vinyl releases. This is from Girder Music. One of the new Splatter, purple and yellow. Limited run vinyl there. Shout. This is their second album, second of three. Now I got this. I already had this version. This is the Music for Nations release from overseas, from way back in the day. Now I did a quick comparison. If you look at them, I don't know if you could tell. You probably should be able to tell here, but if you could tell, the new limited run vinyl one is much brighter color-wise. The logo is a little bigger. You can get these both on the camera. The logo on the bottom is bigger. The picture itself has just been enhanced, and it's brighter than this is darker. Now I did a sound comparison side by side, and found that the original was a bit bass heavy, at least on the current settings I've got. It was just kind of muddy sounding because it was so much low end. I know low end's good, but it was muffled low end. Whereas this, a lot of the low end was gone. It wasn't tinny like 80s releases could be, and like their music tends to be. Their first album especially was kind of tinny. But it is, everything is really clean, and the drums are in their right, you know, they find their place. This one's like really bass drum heavy, and it just kind of muffles it. Whereas this one is a little more of a succinct and clean set. So overall, it's I think this one sounds better without any adjustments. I could surely take the bass out on my stereo, maybe boost the treble, but on my standards playing where I play all my records, this one sounds better than this one. So moving on. Now up next we got a couple. These are some Amazon specials that were one of those ones where they drop down in price. If you've watched me in the past, I've mentioned I wait for things to drop to a certain price, at least things that I'm just, you know, eventually filling holes with. This finally dropped, Kiss Rock and Roll Over. It dropped down to like $8 and change. It was brand new. It was a third-party seller, so there was shipping on that. And anyway, so for like $11, I got this brand new, the 2014 release. So just filling holes with that. You know, I was thinking back in the day when this came out, this was probably, and I'm talking back in the day like in the 70s and early 80s, this was one of my least favorite albums. Now, the songs on here are some of the best songs, but here's the thing. The live albums that came out after this is what I got this album after buying Like Alive 2 and things like that. And so I was used to the songs from live versions. And then I get this, and the studio version just sounded kind of weak. Now, you know, that was my youth and, you know, having the live albums first. But when I got this, you know, it just didn't feel quite as heavy. So it was always kind of one of my least favorite. But anyway, I grew out of that. Now you listen to this, it sounds really good. Obviously, I love it still. Another Amazon special. Now this one I took a hit on a little bit because it was mentioned as having a moderate damage to it. But, you know, it's like a $30 record or so and double vinyl, and it dropped down to like 13 or 14 Dream Theater. So I decided to get this. Now, a dramatic turn of events. This was the 2011 release, the first one with Mike Mangini after Mike Portnoy left in 2010. So, you know, I just fill in holes. I got a lot of ways to go with the Dream Theater stuff. Now, here's what the moderate damage was. And, you know, I'm not too terribly concerned because the vinyl itself was fine, the double vinyl, but on the back of it, it actually has a hole. It looks like something scraped it and ripped it. And then up here, you can see you can't hardly see it. There's a scratch that goes up here. And then over here, yeah, you can get some light on it. It's really kind of creased, which affects the front a little. The corner's creased. So, you know, oh, yeah, and the back is actually ripped there. So, anyway, not the greatest condition, but, you know, not complaining for the price. It's a good copy, good listening copy for sure. All right, next up, I went to the thrift store the other day and found something on the shelf separate from the regular vinyl section. It was on the shelf over here. And it looked like somebody maybe had picked up the record and then laid it on the shelf. They didn't look like they put it back where it belonged. My assumption. I picked it up. I didn't notice anything on it. It just looked like a record. I went and looked at the rest of the records, found something else. Let me show you this first. Now, I can't say I know much about the band. I know they're a popular modern band. I've listened to them on Spotify a little just to see what the hubbub was about. And I didn't hate it. But I thought, here at the thrift store, at a Goodwill store, this double record set in in good condition. I probably could give it a good cleaning. It looks like it's just got some fingerprints and stuff on it. Imagine Dragons, Smoke and Mirror. Now I looked it up online, and this is still selling for over $20. And I thought, here it is in a thrift store where it's going to be a couple dollars. So I went ahead, took it up to the counter. I also picked up this. This was the only other record they had there. It was in good condition. David Sanborn, love me a little jazz, love me a little saxophone player. So up to the checkout I went with these, and she rang them up $2 a piece. I'm like, cool, $2 a piece. Now I got home with this, and I took it off already. But on the back, in the bottom corner, which I promise you did not notice in the store. She didn't notice it. I didn't notice it. There was a price tag for $8. So they did have it separate. It wasn't a typical $2. Anyway, I spent so much there. It's not like I went back to, because I didn't find that till I got home. But so I got this, and I listened to it, and I don't hate it. It's good stuff. I may end up selling it, but they're not bad for a modern band. Kind of dancey, kind of cool. So I don't know. I may keep it. But I picked these two things up, and so that was cool. Then I went next door, and there's a place that carries stuff. Records are a couple dollars, and I bought one album that I already put away. I'm not going to drag it back out, but it's an old 1972, 1973 Christian popish type release. Paul Clark. I had gotten one of his other albums a couple videos ago. I had bought part 2, Songs of a Savior, and I found part 1. So, but I got this, John Butcher Axis. Now, I have one of his albums digital, where it's just under John Butcher, I believe. This is I think, looking back, this is 1983, and I think it looks like on Discogs this was his first album, at least under the name John Butcher Axis. They have stuff under just John Butcher, but I think this was one of the first ones. He's kind of a blues guitarist. This is the band, if you're not familiar with them, and he's the guy in the middle. So this is kind of commercial, radio friendly pop rock. Some of the other stuff I've heard is a little more blues. It's a little more rock. But this was a little more commercial. I remember my best friend having this back in the day. I didn't know anything about it. We used to listen to it. So I thought, hey, it's here. It's in a decent price. It's in good condition. So I grabbed it. Now, I got a couple CDs in here. This I picked up. This is from, what's the label again? Sonic Age Records. I get emails from them all the time. Don't buy a ton from them because it's overseas. But when I find something they've got that I can try to find over here, I do. This I had no clue about, and then it popped up, and Rox Records said they had 10 copies, and it was hard to find, and it just got reissued, and they only had 10 of them, and they were selling them Redeemer. Again, I don't know anything about them. Their songs are about things like they got the apocalyptic writers and stuff, so I assume, they are from the 80s, originally released in 1989. And the lyrics, are not super Christian, but they're spiritual, so they may be Christian. It's just not real crazy blatant. But the darkness splits, the light is it's got a lot of cool themes like that. So I dig it. Female vocalist, very cool cover. Can you see that cover? Got a little shadow there. Okay, kind of a painting. Anyway, so I grabbed that. He only had 10 of those. And then this was retroactive, put this out. This is they've been talking about this, the Industrial Evolution. It's a bunch of industrial. It's a couple bands, actually. The Bumpus Hounds, Primary Sensor, Course, and Abstain. And these are guys from like X Propagation and some of the other bands of that day. I think Diatophobia had some of the guys there. It's just cool industrial music from the 90s, early 90s. I got into a lot of this stuff back then. I still have a lot of this stuff. I thought I had X Propagation, but I don't seem to have it. But anyway, so I picked this up. So, cool stuff. That is all for now. I just wanted a short update, and I will let you go from now. Thanks for watching. Rock on.